Hello everyone. Today we are going to review a movie called, well, movie, I'm not really sure, because this one's kind of odd. It says, God, I can't get comfortable. Oh, I'm getting like a weird chill. Whew, I don't know why. It's warmer down here today, so I don't understand that. Anyhow, so this is called The House. Let's just restart that, I guess, because that was the weirdest intro I think I've ever done after getting a weird chill. So this was split into three separate parts, which seems to kind of be a popular thing for movies nowadays, but I'm not really sure how this was first released, because it looks like it might have been released as like a mini-series, and I'm not really sure whether they're going to be doing more with it or not. They could potentially do another movie, I suppose. Now this just came out, I guess it was released on January 14th, so yeah, like a couple weeks ago, I guess, really. But now I'm not really sure where it was released first. I'm assuming probably in England because some of it looks like that's where it was set. But so it was three like short stories of this house, and I guess they were somehow supposed to be connected. Now I might have to watch this movie again just to kind of figure out where the connection is because I'm not too sure. But I'm just going to go off the cast list, and forgive me for not remembering the names of each part because there were a lot of different characters, so it's hard to remember everybody's name in each part, but I can tell you the stories at least as to kind of how they went and what my interpretation of them was. Uh, so Matthew Good played Raymond, uh, Helena Bonham Carter played Jen, Paul Kaye played Cosmos. Like, these are just voices of the animated characters because this film was animated. Mia Goth, Mabel, Miranda Richardson, Aunt Clarice, Claudia Bakley, Penelope, Susan Okoma, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, Rosa, Will Sharp, Elias, Mark Heap, Mr. Thomas, Stephanie Cole played Great Aunt Eleanor, Jarvis Cocker, developer. I'm not really sure. I can't remember what part that was exactly. Tommy Hibbets, Police Officer 1, Josh McGuire, Uncle Georgie, Sean Wolter, Odd Couple, Jason Bennett, I guess he was just visitor and relatives, so he was the voices of some of the visitors and relatives from the first part of the movie. Aisha and Antoine, Police Officer number 2. David Holt, I guess, did some of the voices of the visitors and relatives from the first part of the movie too. Yvonne Lombard was part of the Odd Couple, I'm assuming, because that's what it says, or maybe there was different voices for, yeah, who knows. Emma Tate was another voice of some of the visitors and relatives. Wayne Forrester was another voice of the visitors and relatives. David Peacock was Uncle Lucian. Melina Hudson, visitors and relatives. Oh, wow. Barnaby Pilling, Van Schoenbeek, and Poppy Gothard played visitor and relatives. At least that's the cast and crew cast on the main page, I guess. There's obviously others, but I guess that's just like the main ones that they're naming off, or the most well known, I suppose. Obviously, I know Helena Bonham Carter from the Harry Potter series. I do believe that's her, is it not? And Sweeney Todd, and yeah, Fight Club. I forgot she was in that. A whole bunch of other stuff too. Pretty sure it was her that was in the Harry Potter movies. Oi, oi, oi. Come on, where is it? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. All right, yeah, yep, okay, that is her that I'm thinking of. All right, so in the first part, it's this family. So the mother, father, daughter, and looks like maybe a newborn, or at least maybe she's like a year old. I'm not really sure. Baby. Anyhow, so it looks like they're kind of like down on their luck, and they're running out of. They don't have much money from the looks of things, and their relatives are obviously fairly rich, but don't seem to care enough to give them anything to survive off of. So their relatives are all very selfish people from the sounds of it, and even though they're wealthy, kind of look down upon them. And one of the relatives even says that the father's gonna end up like his father was, just a useless drunk, and so on and so forth. So this is supposed to be like a dark comedy, so I can kind of see the direction they were going with the whole like kind of lightheartedness, but also kind of like punches you in a way, I guess, with each episode. And it kind of leaves you guessing as to what exactly is happening completely, because some of it is a little bit confusing. I just realized my headphones were just sitting in the background there, so I'm just going to move those. What was I just saying? Yeah, it leaves you guessing as to what is actually happening in the episode, because some of it is a bit confusing. So eventually the father just gets upset and leaves the house, and when he's going for a walk, I guess what looks like in the woods, after getting a little bit inebriated, he he comes across this like weird floating, I guess carriage you could call it, and then he makes this deal, and this man comes to the house the next day and offers him like this house for free, from his, and I do remember this guy's name. Mr. Thomas was the one that visits the family. He tells them that his, I guess, boss wants to build them a house for free, no strings attached. And when they move into the house, everything's just kind of set in place and given to them. And as they go along, their house gets destroyed. They can watch their house being destroyed, and the house just keeps changing as it goes along. So it kind of ends up separating the parents from the children. And the Mr. Thomas's boss keeps giving them more and more stuff until eventually the parents turn into, well, one of them turns into a chair, and the other one turns into, I guess, like, what are they? Not carpets, but, geez. Oh, carpets go on the floor. What am I trying to say here? Curtains. Curtains. She turns into curtains. Now, I'm not really sure how that exactly happened. That episode kind of got really weird, but the interchangeable house was cool. Yeah, I'm not really sure why they ended up turning into furniture. I guess slowly but surely the person who owned the house must have had some sort of power, um, to turn them into that, and I guess he didn't want to make a deal with them because, yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not. Yeah, that episode was kind of, or that part of the movie is kind of hard to understand, um, a little bit, because yeah, it didn't make sense as to why they ended up turning into the things they were creating. I guess maybe there was supposed to be some sort of underlying message there, and I was kind of missing it. Um, I guess maybe, like, don't take things for granted, or granted, Jesus. Um, Maybe that was the message there, because they kind of became, I guess, greedy in a way. Maybe like the relatives, I suppose, a little bit. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure, because it kind of seemed like they were a pretty humble family. But then, yeah, this guy just kind of ended up, but I don't know, doing that to them for some reason. Maybe the other relatives had a deal with him. I'm not really sure. But anyhow, the second episode, or I guess second part of the movie, was kind of cool. Uh, I'm assuming it was supposed to be a rat who was building a house. So I'm assuming he was supposed to be a real estate agent, was the point of this. And instead of getting construction, or like a crew to come in and help build the house, he ends up doing it all himself. And then he has this bug problem, and the bug problem just keeps getting worse. And I'm thinking that either A, um, he ended up dying somewhere along in the episode, and the bugs had just taken over the entire house, and um, like it was just like his imagination taking over, or he, because of him pouring out the chemicals to kill the bugs, he ended up just hallucinating a whole bunch of different situations, because that's kind of what it seemed like in certain parts, like when the bugs were dancing all over the ceiling and stuff like that, and then this other these other two rats suddenly take over the house at one point. So I'm assuming when his phone died, because it kind of looks like he enters like an alternate reality after he ends up showing off the house to a bunch of people, and they end up all leaving, and then all of a sudden it's just him and these two other people there, and they kind of like worm their way into just staying in the house, and then moving their whole family in, and then he ends up going to the hospital, and then they bring him back to the house, and the whole thing is just chaos. Like they're ripping the house apart, eating everything, and then he ends up burrowing in through the oven and like creating this giant tunnel, and I'm not really sure where he goes. So yeah, he either just went insane, died, or was hallucinating a whole bunch of situations due to the poison he was using for the bugs in the beginning of that scene. And then the third one is this cat, I guess group of cats really. It looks kind of post-apocalyptic in the third part of the movie. Another new story in this part too. So she's trying to fix up this house to rent out apartments to people. I'm not really sure where she thinks they're going to go, because everything is the sea level is rising to the point at the end of the episode where she almost sinks, and all the other cats are trying to get her to understand that she needs to leave and move on and find a new place. But she doesn't want to give up, obviously, because that was, I guess, her dream, was to just fix this house up and be able to rent it out to people. But obviously nobody's able to pay rent anymore, because who's going to find a job? Like, where are you finding a job in that place? Where are you making money? Obviously there is no income. And then she hallucinates a certain part, or she hallucinates at some point, to, like, I guess, looking back on memories with them in the beginning, maybe before whatever happened had happened. And then I guess the one cat that ended up coming there built like the whole house into a boat. So I guess the end of the last one was kind of like a happy ending, I guess, to all the darkness. Yeah, all the dark comedy in it, I guess, or dark humor in it, the other two parts. It ended on a happy note with them all, I guess, making it out of there all right. So yeah, the last story was kind of like a turn compared to the first two. Even though she didn't really want to give up on it, I guess she kind of realized that being with the people that she cared about in the end was better than dying alone, because that's probably what would have ended up happening if she didn't either A, leave with them, or B, hadn't had this guy come along and, I guess, do the renovations or whatever, or upgrades for her to be able to, I guess, move the house to wherever they were going to be to wherever they ended up. Hopefully a better spot than rising sea levels, right? But it didn't look like there was much other than that. So I mean, maybe if she was traveling, she could pick up people and they'd be able to pay her. I'm not really sure what kind of jobs there would be, because it seemed like it was supposed to be like a post-apocalyptic setting, like I said. But overall, this movie was fairly interesting. I think I'm going to have to go back and watch it again just to maybe understand some of the stuff. Clearly, there's so much to be interpreted in these three parts of this film, and I kind of feel like I need to learn the characters' names and then maybe come back and do a re-review of this movie in the future. But my first viewing of this movie, I would give it a 7 out of 10. I would say definitely go watch it, because it is it's one of those films where it's just open for interpretation, and I really like those kind of styles of movies. And the animation was very unique. I'm not sure whether they used like claymation or dolls or something, but yeah, I honestly like to know like a making of the house thing on Netflix, because I would watch that. I'd be interested to see how they created those characters, and how they got them to move, whether it was like still action, like, or claymation or something, because yeah, it almost looked real in certain parts, so it was kind of interesting. Other than that, yeah, 7 out of 10 is what I would give this movie, And I think that's probably all I can say about this movie because I've been talking for a good 14 minutes. And that's it. That's really all I can say. I've named off all the cast members. I can't remember all the names in each part, so forgive me because there was so many different characters, and yeah, that's one of the things when they have a three-part movie and they switch characters all the time. It's kind of hard to remember which characters were in which part. So, and I don't want to mess that up. I just wanted to talk about the stories more than anything. So yeah, again, 7 out of 10, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.